Are we close to the cemetery?
Fairly, but we're closer to my house. I need to pick something up.
We are in a hurry, you moron. You brought us to your house.
Yeah.
While everyone else was partying and watching anime, I was studying the way of the sword. While everyone else was jerking off, I was becoming the one with the samurai. And even though it wasn't my original mission, here I am, coming to save the world once again. I'm saying once again, I don't really know why I'm saying that, because like the last game was like 20 years ago and it has nothing to do with the plot of this one, but I began my mission.
Just get it, even if things get dirty.
If he doesn't, I need to apply the touch. Goddamn right. You got the power! The hell's breaking loose, 'cause you'll be right in the eye of the storm.
I knew when I saw this intro scene, I was going to be having a good time. What do you get when you take the demons from Mortal Kombat and pit them up against a katana-wielding, gunslinging badass all set in modern Japan? Well, you'd get Shadow Warrior. Not the original one, but the newer reboot that was inspired by it. I sat on this game for 4 years before I even thought of giving it a shot for some reason, but here we are. I finally decided to dust off this little gem sitting in my Steam library, and man, what a ride. First and foremost, let's talk about what Shadow Warrior is. It's a first-person shooter set in modern-era Japan. Yeah,
I know it already sounds good, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Putting an emphasis on fast-paced arena-style combat with some very light puzzle elements thrown in for good measure. Tying it all together is a story that never failed to keep me interested, while also not taking itself too seriously.
Guess I was just too much way for them to handle.
So the story starts off by introducing you to Lo Wang,
Haha, penis joke.
Who are you?
You can call me $2 million.
a man tasked with the job of purchasing the Nobusurikage, an ancient sword for his incredibly wealthy boss.
You have the sword, I have the cash.
Oh hey, yeah, I'm the guy here to buy the thing, yeah.
Bruh.
Oh. Now, you might not want to do that, because I'm going to kill all of you. Of course, this purchase doesn't happen, immediately turning this transaction cutscene into a Warriors game. By Warriors game, I'm talking about the hacking and slashing that's going on in this scene right now.
Always bring a katana to a gunfight. And also a gun.
Along the way, you begin to discover that there's more to this old sword than you originally anticipated. It turns out that there's multiple instances of this Nobusurikage floating around, and it's creating this huge power struggle between all the parties involved within the game. Okay, I'm not about to buy 3 swords for this video. I don't want to spoil too much, but along the way, you're joined by a demonic spirit named Hoji, a being banished from his home, causing you two to join forces through common interest.
You must be the one that the prophecy spoke of.
Really? What else does the prophecy say?
Why, that the one will also believe any goddamn idiot thing you make up on the spot.
Get out of my car.
He's basically the Mushu to your Mulan.
You got me feeling like a child now.
He makes for a great character, and I loved his involvement through the entire story.
It's time.
What are you doing?
Did you ever watch Kung Fu?
What?
taxi driver.
We're in a little hurry, remember?
All the best heroes shave their heads.
Travis Bickle is a good guy now?
Close enough.
As you can probably tell, the game takes place in modern era Japan. It puts an emphasis on Asian mythology, but for all intents and purposes, the overall design of the game is beautiful.
Shit. I was hoping for a more cliched setting. I guess koi ponds and cherry blossoms will have to do.
The locations take you everywhere from the city streets to ancient temples, all filled with incredible amounts of detail for the time being 2013 when the game was released. The use of color is very intentional and works great. Well-lit areas and easily understandable indicators will be placed throughout the map to lead you in the right direction, while hiding secrets in a path that you may not have expected.
5,000 hitmen in this country and I have to get the nerd? Where do you keep your porn?
This is my porn.
Cherry blossoms are bright and vibrant, and it's a great contrast to the dilapidated buildings they reside by. I love the clash between the samurai swordsman references and the use of modern weapons throughout the game. There's also neat homage to the classic shooters of its original counterpart that you'll probably find sprinkled out later into the game.
Hail to the king, baby.
My only main issue to the design would be in the verticality. The locations look purposeful, but during the actual combat, I found myself usually just flying on a flat plane. I feel like better use could have been made of vertical structures, but I totally get why they went with this choice given the gameplay style.
Hello, ladies.
Hello? Who's there? That's Wang. Wang? Not quite a genie, but I'd rub his lamp.
The world building is no slouch when it comes to interesting character design as well. Your character Lo Wang is what? I can't get over that name, dude. Your character Lo Wang is a one-liner spitting smartass that serves as his own comic relief.
I am taking my deductible out of these demons' asses.
Your companion Hoji compounds this principle, serving as a way to have a fun conversation throughout the game.
Any bright ideas on getting off this ship now that you made it go boom?
Let's just focus on getting that sword, all right?
Good idea. We should stick to the lack of plan.
It's been working so far.
All of the evil character motivations are clear, and you always have motivation to keep you playing, despite some of the obvious padding in some instances that we'll get to later.
Fuck off.
While the game is pushing this serious narrative story, it's not afraid to poke fun at itself and make sure that it isn't taking itself too seriously. One way it does this, outside of the obvious running joke that is your character's name, is the fortune cookies spread throughout the game that give you a little message when you pick them up.
I couldn't actually get my hands on a fortune cookie to do a skit for this part.
Honestly, I don't think they're too far off from the real fortune cookie thing.
Mess with the bull, you get the worm.
The gameplay on the surface is pretty simple. You move from level to level, eliminating everything in your path by doing the slashing as well as the shooting, while sometimes having to find and destroy statues to unlock the path ahead. It's a pretty basic hit this switch to unlock this door design philosophy, but it works. You unlock new weapons as you progress, so you always have something new to look forward to, but don't think you'll ever run out of things to do with the arsenal you'll have. So before we talk about more of the gameplay, let's talk about the upgrades. The upgrade system in this game is huge. I mean, seriously, I did not expect this seemingly basic first-person shooter to offer so much in the way of personalizing your playstyle. When you explore these levels, you're earning different currencies. We'll use currencies for a lack of a better word. You can pick up cash for weapon upgrades, but you'll also find Kai crystals, I think that's how you pronounced it, as well as karma points depending on how well you clear out an area. These are useful for other upgrade systems. With these currencies, you can modify different abilities within multiple attribute trees. So you have weapon upgrades where you can add things like fire modes and different ammo, but you also have a perk system for different skills on your player. If you want to find resources more easily, you can change your luck perks. If you want your character to be faster, you can change your agility perks. You can even upgrade your healing abilities, but the thing that surprised me most was the unlockable move sets.
Look at that. Meet piñatas.
I don't think I've ever played a first-person shooter where I could unlock special moves like this. You unlock these moves that are activated by a button combination that make you feel almost like you're in a fighting game. The idea was really interesting, but I found that some of these abilities definitely work better for me than others. I mainly use the self-healing and sword charge ability more than anything, so while the gameplay begins to offer more in the way of upgrades and abilities, it still has a simple but fun formula that continues to work no matter how you decide to play. The gunplay itself feels pretty good. It has a bit of that late 2000s shooter awkwardness. By this, I mean things like ADS being bound to the right analog stick, like the last game with guns I played. When you aim down sights, the camera zoom doesn't exactly match the gun animation, which makes it feel a little bit awkward, as well as the movement speed not changing while aiming. The gunplay feels a bit of an awkward mix between modern shooters paying homage to its classic roots. Although this is just me kind of being spoiled off of Call of Duty gunplay. AKA I have a really bad taste in video games.
Glad to see you're keeping your superhero complex in check.
Your variety of weapons aren't bad. You get a crossbow that can pin enemies to the walls and an SMG you can upgrade to dual wield because of course you can.
This should help me get my point across. Okay, that was terrible. Fuck your mother.
As well as other things you would expect, like a rocket launcher and a pistol. You can also collect demon hearts, which can be used to scare off lower level enemies, but I found this to be a bit gimmicky. The other element to the gameplay is the sword combat. It's pretty good, as it should be considering the whole game surrounds a sword is the theme. You can take off specific limbs depending on how good your aim and timing is, leaving everything a wonderfully gory mess. I feel like melee combat is usually a hard thing to get right in an FPS, but they do it pretty good. The Nobitsuri Kage gets stronger as you collect more swords, so this as well as the melee upgrades you make keep it fresh.
God damn. That isn't the sexiest.
That look good!
Holy shit.
When you do get these sword upgrades, you're transported into the Shadow Realm, where you fight these godlike guardians, and these make for some really cool set-piece moments. As a whole, none of the weapons felt too off balance in my opinion. The ammo will start to run low on every weapon, forcing you to switch up your playstyle and use every weapon a little bit more evenly. I personally found the dual SMGs to be a little nuts, but your favorite will come down to personal taste.
You think there's a sword here?
Osaka. This is one of Zilla's shipyards.
The game is at its best when you're jumping from level to level fighting off hordes of demons. It almost reminds me of Left 4 Dead with its fast-paced, frantic gameplay, and I love that. There's a ton of personality put into all of the different enemy types. You have weak enemies, strong enemies, flying enemies, enemies that can manipulate the strength of other enemies, enemies that can spawn enemies, and boss enemies. What I'm trying to say is that you have a decent amount of variety to keep you interested. The game starts off deceptively easy with simple enemy types, but slowly slides in these stat-altering voodoo boys that can manipulate the gameplay flow, and it only builds from there. Okay, seriously, I've been to hell twice at this point collecting 2 of these swords. You're seriously not going to be able to stop me. I don't know why you're still trying. And by builds from there, I mean the game quickly ramps up from 0 to 1,000 out of the blue. So for most of the game, it has you running over these pissant enemies super easy. I barely died throughout the entire game, but out of the blue, it starts to put you in these arenas where you have to fight pretty much every single enemy in one room. So you're just getting pounded by everybody. And right when you think you're done, the game has you do it again.
So you go from starting out like feeling like you need to be on a higher difficulty to feeling like you need to lower the difficulty, which I thought was pretty funny.
You'll notice that I haven't mentioned human enemy types. Well, they exist, but fighting them is like fighting the foot soldiers in Mech Assault. AKA they're pretty easy. Whenever you clear out a room, you get a rating based on how well you did. Usually my rating left some score to be desired, but I was playing on a controller so I could kick back on my TV. Speaking of the controller, you'll notice that the aim assist is really strong. I'm quite literally able to snap on the enemy's heads like I'm aimbotting. But luckily it still gets pretty difficult in the later stages regardless. Also keep in mind that I'm playing on the normal difficulty quote unquote, and I think there's still like 3 difficulty levels above that if you really want to get nuts with it. Oh, that's really fucking horrible. I'm switching out this coffee for something else. So while this game kept me hooked with the story, characters, and its fun gameplay, I did hit a few snags that I don't think it would be fair to go without mentioning. If the gameplay is at its best when it's feeding you fast-paced shooting arenas, it's at its worst when it completely stops the action. A break between the action is good. It gives you a chance to be provided with more world building, dialogue from the characters, and deeper storytelling experience as a result of the slower times.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Is that a Brokeback Mountain reference? Some of my favorite moments in video games like The Last of Us are from when the action is paused. Some of my least favorite moments are when you're locked out of the action to waste your time and it makes the game's padding painfully obvious. For starters, like any other first-person shooter, it has its turret sections, because of course it does. To nobody's surprise, they suck. The worst part is probably the god-awful sound for the turrets that resemble something between a hairdryer and a fork in a garbage disposal. That's not the only quirk though, so let's get to some of the others.
Oh, what do we have here? Oh, it's just the sword I'm gonna kill you with.
You'll typically get your path to advance blocked by 3 statues you have to find and destroy to unlock the door. Usually these aren't too hard to find, but sometimes they can just take the piss and hide them in a spot you have to spend 5 minutes searching for. Seriously, like in this one arena garden area, they tucked it away in a corner that served no purpose but to waste your time searching for the damn thing. In the later stages, there would be a few times a room that I already cleared out would be repopulated with enemies that I'd be forced to fight to progress. It was so obvious that they were just trying to stretch out the level and it wasn't fun. As I mentioned before, there was also a noticeable lack of verticality from these levels in my opinion. A good bit of levels took place in a flat arena style setting and I would have loved to see them play around a bit more with the platforming. You couldn't even really jump over railings and it was hard to judge the amount of fall damage you would receive on a jump. Although the physics in the game could feel a little warped when it came down to platforming, so I kind of understand the design choice. Still could have been tweaked a little bit though. All that being said, padding and problems aside, I don't regret the time I spent with Shadow Warrior at all. It was a gem of a game that I'm happily glad that I finally got around to playing. The gameplay was fun, the characters were interesting, memorable, and the story surrounding it was surprisingly more deep than I initially expected. I'm really excited to look at the future installments that will likely improve on this formula, and if you want to pick this up and play it for yourself, you can probably pick it up pretty cheap, run it easily on your PC, and I had no problems maxing this out at 4K, so I'm sure there's a lot of headroom for lower end hardware. All that being said, if you guys would be interested in seeing me try out the newer entries in the series, let me know what you thought of this video and be sure to check out some of my other content. That's how I ended the script. I'm not really sure what else to say here. Alright bud, you ready to do an outro? Alright guys, that is going to wrap up the Shadow Warrior video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As you could probably tell, this was considerably more ambitious than my normal videos, well, at least the ones since the Cyberpunk PS4 and Dying Light videos. So as we're closing up here, I just want to mention a few things. Big shout out to Robert, as always, for helping me film these stupid little skits for these videos. You can go check his channel out in the description. It's not easy to find somebody that's always down to do these little things, but he's been a huge, massive help to me in my recent projects, and I definitely think he's worth checking out. Also, do you guys like green screen videos? Like the one right here beside me? Well, if you would like to become a member or a patron of my channel, you'll have full access to this 6-minute straight cut of nothing but straight green screen video that I had left over from the project. I'm also going to post some behind the scenes outtakes there as well for this video and future projects coming up, because that's something I've been wanting to do, but I'm finally getting around to doing it. So if you're the type of person that enjoys that kind of content, you'll be able to get it over in those avenues. And as always, thank you guys for checking out the videos. God, you're so cute. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end, and hopefully you enjoyed watching this as much as we did making it. I'll see you in the next one. It's been tea. It's been tea. I make YouTube videos sometimes. Sometimes I drink tea, but not really. It's usually coffee. Wait.
La 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 la.
Not to sound like a racist, but all you demons really do look alike.